Hey everyone, Austin here again with another quick play. Today we are back with Gradius III for Super Nintendo. This was actually a game that was requested on my Super R-Type Super Nintendo quick play. And you know what? I was already thinking about doing this game anyway because I've also covered Gradius I on NES in this series. And so it kind of made sense to try to do Gradius III, which is actually one of my favorite shooters of the 16-bit generation. The home version of Gradius III that you have here, it's very different from the arcade version. The levels are made a lot easier. There are different levels in here as well, and you know, the production quality is a little bit different than what we had in the arcade version. And honestly, I think it's for the better. This is just a really fantastic, like, early Super Nintendo game. It's just really polished. You know, in terms of like the visuals and just the you know, the presentation, like the introduction and stuff like that. Now, unfortunately, there is a lot of slowdown in this game, and that's one of the things that this game is usually knocked for. A lot of people don't like it as much as some others because of all the slowdown, and it gets pretty atrocious. But you know, like I talked about in my Super R-Type video, it doesn't really bother me all that much. Slowdown is something that I grew up with, and I just live with it. And honestly, it makes these games a lot easier. There are no slowdown patches for this game, including a SA1 patch version, I believe, and that gets rid of all the slowdown, but it makes it a lot harder at the same time because the bullets are just insanely fast. So I actually personally prefer playing this in its original form with all the slowdown. It can be a little jarring, but it's still a ton of fun to play. Like, everything else is just so good about it. It's great level design, it's got great music, you know, it's got great visuals, and I especially love the visuals in these early Super Nintendo games. They're just very colorful, and you know, lots of details and stuff like that, and it's really good stuff. So but let's go ahead and hit the start button here. One thing I wanted to mention is if you I think it's if you mash the A button. No, it's not doing it. Maybe it's the B button. Let's hit start again. Maybe it's the B button. Maybe it's X. Which one is it? Yeah, okay, it's X. So if you mash the X button, you'll notice that your credits actually go up. Ideally, you do this with a turbo controller, but you'll notice that my credits are actually going up as I mash X, and I'll usually get maybe three credits out of it, but it's not something I really need to use in this day and age, because I'm, you know, even though I haven't played this in quite some time, I should be able to jump into this and get pretty far into the game. But yeah, if you need credits in this, just, you know, pop out a turbo controller or just be really good at mashing X, and you can get yourself some extra continues. Now, you have multiple difficulties on this. There's also a arcade mode, which also requires a turbo controller to access on this options menu. And arcade mode is very, very difficult. Hard mode's pretty tough too, but you do have easy. You've got auto mode for you know, shots and power-ups. We're gonna leave the auto fire on for shooting, which is very handy. Power up, no, that'll power you up automatically, and I don't really recommend it. You'd rather have full control over your power-ups. But yeah, let's go ahead and just well, let's go ahead and mash the X button a little bit. Can we get to 7? Nope, we only got to 6. Let's try it one more time. So mash. Let's see, can we get 7? There we go. So anyone just watching this, and if you're not used to this series that I'm doing here, this is a casual, kind of off the cuff, you know, gameplay series. A lot of these games I'm playing on this series I haven't played in quite some time, and so I'm not sure if I'll actually be able to finish the game. So you've been warned. You know, we might have some trials and tribulations in this playthrough, or we might just storm right through it, because I have played this game a lot over the years. But you know, with Gradius 3 here, you've got a series of power-ups that you can select. I actually recommend going to the edit mode here because you have more control over what you have. I like the standard missiles here, and I like double, and then I like E-laser, which is extremely powerful. It's the most powerful thing in this game. So if you want to have an easier time at getting through this game, you want to make sure you're using the E-laser to start. Maybe mess around with the other weapons, you know, when you get better at the game. You have different option formations as well. Options are these little balls that, you know, basically follow you, and they act as extra doublers, triplers, or quadruplers of firepower, depending on how many you have. You can have up to 4. I prefer just the standard style because I have more control over kind of how it works. And then you've got multiple shields here. In this game, I recommend Reduce. Reduce makes you very tiny. It makes your hitbox smaller. And you can also take a couple of hits, so it also acts like a shield at the same time. Otherwise, if this was another Gradius game, I would recommend the Force Field. You can get hit from any direction, and it will absorb that hit. Whereas Shield, it blocks your front, which is useful, but you're vulnerable from the top, bottoms, and left hand or backside. Rotating Shield, I don't really like all that much, so in this version specifically, I go for Reduce. I don't know if Reduce is as useful in Gradius 3 Arcade, if it's in Gradius 3 Arcade. I don't remember if it's in Gradius 3 Arcade now that I think about it. So this last one, exclamation mark, you know, you can actually choose speed down, which can be useful because you can accidentally speed up too much and then you won't have a recourse other than dying. You can get all your options back. You can get full barrier, and then you can get Mega Crush. Mega Crush is like a screen clearing bomb. I'm going to go with full barrier, although full options might be useful, but, you know, when I select my shield in the game itself, I won't be able to refresh it without actually losing the shield completely. But yeah, here we go. So I kind of got a little ahead of myself there explaining like power-ups and stuff like that. But for those of you guys that have never seen a Gradius game, and assuming you haven't watched my Gradius 1 quick play, certain strings of enemies or certain enemies will drop these power-up canisters, and you can press the A button to, you know, activate whichever one is highlighted on the bottom bar. And so I've sped up twice. You can see I'm already pretty fast right now. I really don't want to be any faster than this. Not at this point in the game anyway. There is a later speeder section which can be a little tough to deal with. But ideally I get a couple speed ups, then I switch over to missiles. You notice that the missiles I pick, they travel along the ground, and that's very useful for the ground turrets and ground canisters that spawn enemies and things like that. And then what I focus on is the options. So you can see I've already got one option, and it just kind of trails behind me. It goes wherever I have gone. And it's very, very useful. When you get up to 3 or 4 options, you can actually do some unique setups where you can let them go through walls and kill enemies on like the other sides of walls. Things like that. It's good stuff. And I'm just kind of focusing on like our turrets, on the floor and the ceiling. Kind of like I had mentioned in my Gradius NES playthrough, is that, you know, the Gradius series has always been interesting because they have enemies on, you know, the floor and the ceiling. And Gradius 3 has even more unique, you know, floor and ceiling architecture. Whereas a lot of the earlier Gradius games were a little more flat. Gradius 3 has, like, you know, sand dunes and stuff like that. So it's interesting stuff. And you can see lots of slowdown now, but I'm going to go ahead and just keep firing because I want to take advantage of the slowdown. I want to get rid of this sand dragon here, and then try to get rid of these turrets. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and switch over to the E-laser because I believe we are at the boss fight. And this will kill the boss a little bit faster. Now, a lot of these levels are actually based on actual arcade Gradius 3 stages, however, their layouts are actually a little bit different. Like the first level in this game is missing a lot of enemy types from the arcade game, and it's not as brutal. And I think the actual like sand dune layout might even be a tiny bit different as well. This second level we're going to is actually similar to the arcade game in terms of like structure, but it's not nearly as difficult in the Super Nintendo game. And there is a ton of slowdown in it, actually, which you will see. So the thing about the E-laser, or maybe energy laser, is you hold it down for its maximum shot power. However, you can also charge it up lightly, just do like a little baby charge. So there's a lot of flexibility with it, and the baby charges can still be really powerful as well and cut through multiple enemies. But if you charge it up all the way, it's just insanely powerful. And it's honestly, like, it's overpowered, but it doesn't... I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, the weapon's overpowered, it just breaks the game, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, well, you know, I look at it as, you know, just replay value and flexibility on how players can get through the game. Because there are some people that really aren't all that comfortable with the shoot-'em-up genre. And so something like the E-laser is a nice crutch for those players. But, you know, someone like myself that's been playing the genre since, you know, they were a kid, can use some other weapons just to mix things up. It's not like the game's forcing me to play with the E-laser. It would be different if it forced me to play with it, because then it would make a lot of the other gameplay elements, gameplay mechanics redundant, but it doesn't. It's just another choice in a wide arsenal of you know, firepower and ways to play the game. So now ideally here, what I do is I just constantly fully charge up. That way I can cut through these bubbles much easier. Now, unfortunately, we get a lot of flicker as well, and that basically happens from too many objects being on the same line. And so when I've got 4 options, a ship, all missiles, and like 40 bubbles on the screen, you know, you can not only just get slowdowns, you also start to get flicker. And now we got the option stealer behind me, so what I like to do is try to constantly move. He's going to end up stealing a bunch. Oh, he only stole 1. Very good. I got lucky with that. There were a lot of enemies on screen. So the option stealer eventually comes out. I don't know the rhythm or rhyme to it, but it definitely seems like when you have a lot of options, that's, you know, the most likely time when it will come out. Now what I'm going to do here is actually kind of skip the, I'm going to try to skip the boss fight. There's actually a way to skip the boss fight. If you come down here and don't run into an enemy, you'll actually warp to a bonus stage. And if I successfully defeat this bonus stage, or complete it, I'll actually just skip the rest of that level completely. And there's a few of these in this game. I don't know where all of them are, but I do recall where a couple of them are. I'm going to actually switch over to double, just because I feel like double will help me out here. Now, one of the things that you can do here is try to get lots of point icons. You do get extra lives from points, but you can also get yourself an actual extra life, which is these green ones. I want to grab that and come down here real quick. Yeah, see, I've played this game so much over the years that I still remember a lot of this stuff. I had mentioned in my Super R-Type video that it was like one of the earlier Super Nintendo games I got, and you know, my mom had bought it for me, and you know, I was out at like a Toys R Us, and you know, Super R-Type, I think it was a couple years old by that point, and so it was kind of being budgeted out, and yeah, it was kind of being budgeted out, and it was probably like 15 bucks or something, and so my mom, you know, after doing some convincing, she went ahead and bought it for me, which was awesome. And then not too much longer later, I saw Gradius III at like a local, I think it was like, I don't remember if I got it from Toys R Us or if it was like Kmart or something, but it was also being budgeted out because it came out around the same time as Super R-Type. And I actually bought that with my own money. I think it was like 15 or 20 bucks again. And so, because they were games I had fairly early, you know, in my ownership of the Super Nintendo, I played them a lot. I played them quite a lot. And they're games I've always gone back to over the years, both this and Super R-Type, you know, because I became very intimate with them. I learned them inside and out, or as much as I could, and so, you know, that's knowledge that never really like went away because I played them so much over the years. So even though I haven't played this game in a while, I can still explain things, which is kind of nice, instead of looking like a complete fool. Which I have a tendency of doing sometimes, so. So alright, we're on stage 3, and again, we had gotten the bonus level. And, this is actually one of the areas where you can, you know, use your options. You can have your options, like, go through walls and stuff like that. You know, you can set up your options in, you know, decent formations, just to make your life a lot easier, and that's one of the great things about the Gradius series and its options. And just look at all this slowdown. It's absolutely insane, but, you know, I'm just gonna live with it. It makes my life easier. Let's come on over here, get rid of that canister. So this game is a really decent length as far as shoot-'em-ups are concerned on the console. It's, I don't remember exactly how many levels it has, but it probably has at least 10, which is actually kind of a lot for shooters. It might even have more than that. And I don't quite recall how long, like, this playthrough will be, if we actually make it all the way through. I have high confidence we'll make it through. You know, I have done multiple Let's Plays of this game on my channel. I have covered it multiple times. I've also played it in the past on, like, SNES shoot-'em-up streams. And, Man, people complain about the Super R-Type slowdown, but man, this is way worse. It's constant. Now, you can mitigate the slowdown by just not firing, but I don't want to do that because then, you know, I'm at risk of, you know, getting hit by something. Like, these rocks coming out will be a lot faster if I'm not, you know, instigating slowdown. But, yeah, I have high confidence we'll get through this, and, you know, not have too many troubles, because I have played it a lot over the years, and I'm still quite familiar with it, despite not having played it in a while. There's actually another bonus level coming up here, so what we want to do is come up here. Now, as far as I'm aware, I think you can only get the bonus level the first time you see it. If you miss it and you die, you cannot get back to it, as far as I'm aware. I think that's how it works. And I think this one actually uses verticality. So we have to actually scroll the screen up, and we have to be really fast with this one. So I'm really not going to worry about, like, the point icons. I really don't care that much. And there's some other, like, hidden extra lives and stuff like that too, if I recall correctly. Nice. That's actually really satisfying. You get some of those yellow point icons and they just constantly trigger. So yeah, that can be real satisfying. But the thing is, you can get distracted and then not end up making it through, and then you end up dying, and what happens is you go back to a checkpoint on the level you got to the bonus stage at, and you have no power-ups, and that's never good. So I'm gonna skip these power-ups because I just don't really need them. I'd rather be on the exclamation mark at the far end, because if I take a hit and, you know, I'm no longer super tiny, then I can use the exclamation mark to just, like, recharge it completely. Those are some really good points, actually. Really good points. We already have 6 lives, which is nice. Probably not going to need those continues. Yeah, you'll notice that I've just been using double instead of the E laser, and the reason for that is double in this version of the game is really, really good. Like, it fires pretty quickly, and it covers much more screen space. And one of the things about the Gradius series in general is it has a lot of, like, popcorn enemies, as I like to call them. Lots of enemies that just die in one hit. And it's not just what I like to call them, it's kind of a common term in the shoot-'em-up scene. So there's the option stealer. I was able to sort of bait it in a specific, you know, area of the screen and then just kind of avoid it completely, which is great. What I'm going to do is actually leave it on E laser. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back to the exclamation mark, because this is definitely a level where I have a good chance of getting hit, and the E laser is not going to be the most useful. Like, double is actually more handy here, because you've got enemies on the like on the top of the screen, or the ceilings, I should say, and yeah, E laser is actually not as handy here. So I'm just gonna sit on the exclamation mark at the far right. You can actually see it's an exclamation mark because I can't activate it yet, because I haven't taken a hit. Because I haven't taken a hit, it's not going to actually show up as the exclamation mark. It will, though, if I do take a hit. So, like, let's actually take a hit. There we go. So, I went ahead and used it right away. We'll just build it back up. Got another extra life from points. It's just such a fun game. I love this game. Like I said, it's one of my favorite shooters of not just the Super Nintendo, but the whole 16-bit era. It's one of the few shooters of its type that is so like epic in scope, with its visuals and its soundtrack and all the different areas you go through. It holds up fantastically well in that regard. And it's just really fun. It's, you know, on the default difficulty at least, it's not nearly as hard as the arcade game. It's actually beatable for, you know, humans. I know people that can actually beat Gradius III arcade, but I've never even made it past level 3 in that, and I have tried. Granted, only on the normal difficulties. Like, I haven't really lowered it down to easy, which is something I probably should do if I want to really learn that game, but Gradius 3 is Gradius 3 arcade is notoriously difficult. And you see, I'm just using double, and I'm using the double to hit, you know, 2 faces at once. And I haven't really explained it, but you have to hit the mouths of the Moai heads in order to get rid of them. So when you're playing through that level, you want to be focused on the mouths and not any other part. And actually, it might not be a bad idea to switch over to the E-laser right now, if I can get it. Let's go ahead and try it. And yeah, I think I can hit these guys with the E-laser pretty well. They have to wait for their mouths to open. Oh, look at that, I've already killed one. Yeah, so that was actually a good idea. Like I said, E-laser is so good. And that's it. Yeah, E-laser just wrecked that set of bosses. Alright, good stuff. So that was level 4, we're on to level 5 now. And depending on what this level is, I might even switch back over to double. Double is really good, as you saw. And what's nice about double is, like, you don't have to move around as much. So, like, you can sit closer to the bottom of the screen, still hit a lot of enemies from all different, you know, all different locations. So yeah, let's actually stick with double and just kind of see what happens. I'm gonna, again, leave it on the exclamation mark just in case I take a hit. That way I can refresh my reduced shield. This might be the fire level, let's see. Yep, it's the fire level. The fire levels in these games are always so good. Very colorful. Oftentimes they have really good music. You know, this one does, as does Life Force on the NES. Life Force was originally known as Salamander in Japan. And then when it got a release over here in arcades, they changed the gameplay system to make it more like a classic Gradius game. And called it Life Force. Oh, got an option stolen, so I'm gonna have to actually cycle over. Or I can just try to, you know, just go through the level as is, but I really think I want to get my 4th option back. I think that's what I'm going to try to do, assuming power-ups actually drop. We haven't had a whole lot of power-up drops here, so... Now, the game is just, like, super slow right now, but I'm just letting it do its thing. I'm letting it be slow. That makes my life easier. A lot of players like to let that get in the way of the enjoyment of the game, but I just look at it as, hey man, I'm not dying left and right. Also, you can touch this fire, you just can't touch the actual floor or ceiling. In some other Gradius games, it's the fire you touch and you die instantly, but in this one, you can actually touch it. So E-laser would have been better for this boss, but I think we'll be fine with the double. And if I recall correctly, I think this is actually one of those bosses that is featured in screenshots of, like, Konami advertisements for their Super Nintendo games. They're earlier advertisements. You know, they advertise stuff like Gradius III, they advertise stuff like Castlevania 4. You know, those are pretty big titles for Konami on the Super Nintendo. Gradius III is actually a fairly common game. I think it actually sold fairly decently. Versus shmups that came out later in the 16-bit era. You know, interest in the genre tanked pretty quickly during this generation, unfortunately. You know, by 93 or 94, people were really losing interest, and they weren't selling as well. You know, you can tell that just based on, you know, how many copies of certain games are out there, like Space Megaforce, which is a highly regarded game, but not super common either, compared to Gradius III or Super R-Type, which were earlier launch window games. Let's go ahead and leave this on E-laser, just to kind of see where we are. I think this might be the plant level, so actually I might just leave it on double for now. Actually, you know, I think I would prefer E-laser for this stage, because the boss fight is kind of a pain in the ass, honestly. It's probably one of the harder bosses in the game. And I actually probably going to want to speed up for the boss. The boss has this, like, vacuum suck kind of mechanic, and if you're not fast enough, he will suck you in and eat you. Not really eat you, but, you know, you'll die because you will touch the boss. So let's go ahead and leave it on E-laser. So, if I can, I wouldn't mind switching over to E-laser at the boss, but double might actually be more useful for the level itself. Whoops, I switched off by accident. That's okay, not a big deal. So with double, you can also like, arrange your options to where they're all like bunched up together. It's one of the great things about the option system. You notice I'm just literally like spinning around in circles to get them to do what I want them to do. I have full control. Now these little plant arms come out as well. I think you could shoot them sometimes and they might go back down. Sort of seems like it's working, sort of doesn't seem like it's working. Seems a little iffy. Yeah, such a colorful game. It's always, Gradius III to me has always been a very visually pleasing game. Oh, we have an option stealer again. This is a really bad part for that guy to come out. Alright, here it comes. Quickly. Oh, nice. I spun my options around and it missed them completely. It's very satisfying. Alright, I think we're close to the boss fight, so we're gonna go ahead and use E-Laser. This should actually wreck this boss really fast. You're gonna want to stay up more towards like the top left, because it's a really big boss. Look at that. Look at how huge that thing is. You can see like all like the flickering and clipping that's happening there because so many sprites are overlaid. Yeah, and you can see even with my current speed level, I'm still getting sucked in. Like, you have to be really fast on this boss. You gotta watch out for his projectiles. And so I actually took a hit. There we go. Got him. Nice. So if I stuck with double on that boss, there's a very good chance I would have died. Because he's a very challenging boss. He's one of the hardest bosses in the game. One of the things is that when he gets closer to you and spreads out, you can't see the bullets that he's shooting. The bullets actually go behind him. So you kind of have to see where they shoot from on his little baby arms, and then hopefully be positioned correctly to not slam into them when they go through his body and pop out on the other side. Alright, so what we're going to do here is switch back to, preferably double. Lots of bullets on this part. The bullet count has risen. Alright, I think this might be our speeder level, yep. So I actually want to be fast here. Let's do double. I might have to speed up further, let's see. I don't want to speed up farther if I don't have to. I think we might be good. I think we are. Now, I don't remember the route for this, so there are some, like, really lame, like, dead-end sections here. So, we're good, it's good that I'm fast enough. I definitely want to have my shield ready then, my shield recharge. Because as you can see, there are multiple points where you can get totally crushed. Yeah, and these, like, speeder sections, have, pretty much become staples in the Gradius series. I don't remember where they were, like, first introduced. I know, like, Life Force on NES had a speeder section at the end. I don't remember if Gradius II had one, Gradius 2 Arcade. I feel like it did. I don't remember, though. But then Gradius 3, then Gradius 4, then Gradius 5. Trying to remember if Gradius Galaxies on Game Boy Advance had one. So this will take a little bit longer because we're using double, but it's okay. We just have to avoid these, bouncing projectiles. These bouncing cores. So these are actually called cores. In other Gradius games where there are actual voice samples, which it's actually interesting this one doesn't have voice samples, because the Super Nintendo uses digital samples for, like, all of its sound effects. So it's actually quite interesting that they don't have the shoot the core samples. So in other Gradius arcade games, or even some of the console games, every time you get to a boss and you see the cores, it says shoot the core. Other times, actually, in Gradius 2, when you have more, like, organic enemies, it'll say shoot it in the eye, or shoot it in the mouth, or something like that. I don't know if it says shoot it in the mouth. But I know there's one boss where it's like shoot it in the eye. Alright, so this is actually a boss rush. This is also something that is very standard for the Gradius series. And this is a classic style Gradius 1 boss with some tweaks. It's got a laser. Actually, you know what? This guy might have even been in Gradius 2. There's so many Gradius games and there's so much, you know, blending between them that I a lot of times forget, like, where some of these bosses originated. Yeah, this guy, I think, might have been in Gradius 2 as well. Ooh, I took a hit. Did not mean to do that. Not good. But with the E-laser, hopefully we can get rid of him pretty quickly. You have to wait for the core to open. Become vulnerable. Now, one of the great things about the E-laser, too, is it'll actually cut through objects. You'll notice that it gets smaller and smaller. There we go, got him. This is why you want the E-laser. You can just rip right through these bosses. So this guy's gonna have 2 cores. Now again, you can't actually destroy the doors in front of the cores until the cores actually open up. Let's charge up. Trying to squeeze my way through these lasers. Nice. E-laser for the win. This could be a tough one. You gotta watch out for these missiles that come from the top and bottom. Just kind of try to squeeze your way through them. Doesn't seem to want to go through. Yeah, getting really close might actually be a good idea. There we go. Yeah, it's like, it seems like with the E-laser at least, you can only really hit the core when it's in its rotating animation. Even though there's a little crack at all times, it doesn't seem like I can hit the core. This guy's gonna go across the screen, I believe. Yep, just like that. I had a chance to use the option to destroy it before it even opened back up. Alright, there we go. Gotta watch out for those lasers, like it'll shoot and then die, and you can still get hit by those lasers even when it's like dying and blowing up. Alright, good stuff. I think what I might do is switch back over to double. And then what I'll do is I'll try to get my shield replenished. Yeah, double is so good in this version. It's not as good in some of the other Gradius games. Like, if I remember correctly, I think it's like Gradius 2, where double is actually really slow. Like, there are points where it can be useful, but it's not as good as it is in Super Nintendo Gradius 3. Alright, reused my shield. Now let's go ahead and try to get the shield back up. We have 4, 8, 10 lives right now. That is insane. We're doing a lot better than I thought we would, actually. But we will see how the rest of this goes. There are some kind of cheap sections on this close to end game stage. I believe there is at least one more level after this. And I think this is also a long level. It's got a lot of, like, almost scripted types of boss fights. But yeah, double is really good here. We're gonna have some, like, ceilings and floors just, like, try to slam up on us. So you have to be careful about that. I think there might even be a couple that will crush you completely if you're not in the right position. But I can actually do this. Yeah, a little more bullets now. Yep, there we go. I don't remember exactly where they are on this, like the floors and ceilings coming up or down. I think one of them requires me to like be in the middle or something like that. No, this one requires me to be down farther. Whew. It's a good thing I had that option behind me. Yep, right here. Alright, this is like a turret boss. So we want to go for the turrets, we want to go for the little compartments that bring out your gunners. Now we want to go for the weak spots, which is actually pretty easy now. This is another boss that appears in multiple Gradius games. And it is much easier in this Gradius game. Alright, on to the next part of this level. Now, if I remember correctly, there's a part where, like, the floor and ceiling kind of comes loose. And I don't know if I can actually get back to my E-laser. I really don't think I can. Ooh, we didn't take a hit. That was actually really close. That could be a really tough part, especially if you die. Alright, E-laser. Now, these things right here, you can destroy them, but it's not recommended with your regular shot. You really need to have E-laser. But if you hit them, you'll actually get them to stay in place, which can actually be handy. So now that that one's stuck in place, I can come down here, just like this. Just letting the charge up hit them. Look at that. Very nice usage of the E-laser. Let's go ahead and try to get back to our exclamation mark. Alright, there's this guy. We have to try to get to the other side of him if I recall correctly. Hit him in the middle. Oh, E-laser's too powerful. Wow. Oh, this gun is too good. And there might even be another one. Yep, there it is. Can I actually hit it right away? Let's see. Yep, it looks like I can. Wow. That was way easier than I remembered. But I think I'm confusing this difficulty for hard mode or arcade mode, which I have tried. And I got to that point in the game and just got annihilated. Because everything becomes so tanky. Everything takes so many hits. Alright, I think we're actually getting pretty close to the end of the game. If I recall correctly. This might even be our final level. It's more, I think, if I remember correctly, I think towards the end of the game it's more like organic than that more mechanized previous level. Yep. And this has some classic Gradius 1 enemies. So it'd probably be best to fully charge up on the E-laser here. Yeah, in Gradius 1, there was actually an entire level of just these enemies right here. They were just kind of floating about in, in space. And especially in the NES version, they're really tough to take down. There's a similar concept for these enemies in Life Force as well. Actually, in the very first level of the game. But it's just the arms, and they come out of floors and ceilings as opposed to like these little ball enemies. Alright, let's see if we can rip through these with the E-laser. Okay, looks like we can. I just wanted to make sure I was in good shape for that. Go ahead and grab this. Kills everything on screen. Now I'm intentionally leaving my power up on the shield, just in case I take a hit. I want to replenish my shield if I can, if I do take a hit. We've been pretty good about not taking hits so far in this playthrough. But these sections tend to be fairly challenging in Gradius games. You've got these walls you shoot through, and they regenerate. And if you're on top of them when they regenerate, you will die. Or you'll lose a lot of your shield, at least. Good stuff. Alright, I think this is basically the end of the game. This is like the easiest boss in the game. Kind of a creepy looking thing, too. I think that's it. Yeah, we killed him already. Like I said, E-Laser is just too good. And that, my friends, oof, look at that animation. I love it. It's so good. Especially for, like, such an early Super Nintendo game. Like I said, some of the production values in this, you know, were really nice for the time. But that, my friends, is Gradius III for Super Nintendo. Like I said, it's a really fun game. I always enjoy going through this, so thanks to the individual that recommended this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this playthrough, and if any of you guys out there have any other games you'd like to see played, definitely post them in the comment section. I may or may not get to them, depending on how comfortable I am with them, or if it's something I've never played before, if I want to do like a blind attempted play on it. But I want to hear your suggestions either way, and hopefully you guys continue enjoying this series of quick play videos. It looks like that run only took us about 40 minutes as well, which is actually a little bit shorter than I thought. So yeah, not too bad actually. Granted, we didn't die once, which was really nice. And you know what? I think I missed another bonus stage too. I just don't remember where it is. I'm pretty sure there's more than 2 bonus stages in this. If anybody knows where the bonus stage is, feel free to go into the comments and time code it for me. Let me know. That way, you know, I can validate that and try it again on my own. I might even come back again sometime soon and try this game on hard mode and arcade mode. Probably not on a video, but maybe on like a stream or something like that. So, yeah, man, Gradius 3, great stuff. I love this game. It's so much fun. But thank you very much, guys, for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I don't really have anything else to say, so thanks for sticking with this with me. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. We're not playing hard mode. But have a good one, guys. Until the next one, take it easy.